Sometimes it's not a big baby that scares you into a C-section, but a small baby. In fact, I almost fell into this trap when I was having my first baby. It can be really scary, especially as a first-time mom, when somebody is telling you that your baby might not tolerate labor well, and therefore you should just schedule a C-section. And there is a medical condition that can come up where a cesarean is actually beneficial for a smaller baby. But as you're going to find out in this deep dive masterclass, there's a lot more to it than what is being told to a lot of moms. Small baby has become the new induction trap, just like the big baby. And in this series, the cesarean traps, I'm going to go deep into everything you need to know to avoid a C-section and spot those red flags. This is part of a deeper level, which I talk about inside of my book, Your Empowered Birth. So if you are new to me and you have never heard of empowered birth and you have just stumbled upon this video, let me just tell you that I am committed to you having an empowered birth, whether you work with me directly or not, whether you get my book, and whether you go into my deeper levels of self-study. In fact, inside of this masterclass, I'm going to share the secrets on how to avoid the cesarean trap. No fluff. No telling you to just go and buy my course to get more. I will tell you about the resources that you need to check out, and I will also tell you about lived experiences of myself and the moms that I have supported, because I believe that every birth can and should be a beautiful and empowering experience. If you are already familiar with the empowered birth method, you've been following me for a while, you've been subscribed to the channel, you know how this formula works. First, I'm going to tell you about the cesarean traps. Next, I'm going to tell you how to go deeper with these classes. And then I'm going to go into the stories. I tell you how your confidence is undermined. I tell you how to spot the red flags and how to apply the empowered birth method. So if you are already familiar with how to get the most out of these classes, you are familiar with our transcripts, you're familiar with the idea that the deeper you go with empowering moms, the more treasures you uncover, and you know what a cesarean trap is, you know how much of a big pain in the butt it is, go ahead and skip to the part where I tell you how it undermines your confidence and the red flags that you're going to want to watch out for. I'm going to share a personal story in this one, my own personal story at that, and the evidence that I learned later that had me so mad that I then ended up creating Empowered Birth in the first place and teaching all the moms who came to me how to avoid a repeat C-section or avoid the cesarean trap. And, when I see those small baby comments in the mom groups, that's when my spidey senses start tingling. And I want to share that information because nobody was there for me when I was dealing with this fear of having a small baby. And I know how terrifying it can be. So again, if you are new to me, you may be wondering, what is a cesarean trap? Well, as I mentioned earlier, this is a deeper level of what I call the natural birth traps. These are the things that undermine your confidence. They are very common in mainstream. It has been embedded into our birth culture. And there are two sides of natural birth. There's the truth, and then there is the natural birth that is perpetuated by our medical system and birth culture. If you want to know more about true natural birth versus natural birth in the medical system and why our method is different, then I'm going to encourage you to go and check out my website, empoweringmomsbirth.com/start guide, and go to the section on true natural birth. This is an interactive website. It's mobile friendly. I would even encourage you to use the mobile version because it goes by much faster. When you're on a laptop, what typically happens is if the web browser does not like anchors, then it doesn't work the same way as if you were playing with mobile. So the starter guide itself is very, very big, and there are many videos embedded in it. However, it's choose your own adventure. everything about Empowering Moms is allowing you to get the information you need without having to go through and get everything at once. Because maybe you're new to us. Maybe you just like shorter videos. If that's the case, then I'm going to encourage you to just jump around to the parts where you really are wanting to learn more. I have made sure that the headlines are easy to spot, easy to see. And then in addition to that, check to see if a transcript is available. If it's not, you can always come back later when the transcript is available. I also turn these into blog posts, so you'll be able to go to my website. As Empowering Moms grows, we're going to have even more resources available for you and more paths within the ability to watch the master classes. I will be cutting these up into shorter videos for you, and then you can just binge on the clips and watch the best parts. So the other part is that if the transcript is available, you can skim the headlines, you can skim the bold text, and the deeper you go with Empowering Moms, the more treasures you'll uncover. I'm also going to let you know that if you watch this video 3 times, you're going to get more out of it than if you watch it once. And if you're taking notes during this class and treating it as if you had paid $97 to be here, then you're going to get a whole lot more out of it than if you watch it passively. If you only have 5 minutes, then go and save this. Come back to it later. Like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And make sure that you have the questions that you want answered put inside the comments, or join our Empowered Mom community. And you can ask the questions either inside of our Facebook community or wherever we happen to be at the time. You know, platforms change. And we also have our Empowered Birth newsletter. So you go to empoweringmomsbirth.com/toolkit. You're going to get access to a Google Drive file. This gives you access to workbooks, mini guides, and some of our best courses. And not only that, but access to our deeper dive newsletter, where I give you updates every single week on what's coming up. I share 2 segments. One is Empowered Birth Wisdom, and the other is Empowered Mom Magic, because birth is really just the first step, and then you become an empowered mom for life. And no matter how many more kids you're going to have, you're going to be transforming at every different level of their growth. You're going to need new tools. And I've got 2 kids of my own. Currently, I'm going to be building my family from there. And, you know, I know what the journey for empowered moms can be. And I want to share that with you. So information is free, and I only charge for access to me. And the first level entry is to just put your name and email in. And beyond that, if you find any value and you want to invest deeper, there are paths available. I will be sharing more about that deeper into this masterclass, so stay tuned. And if you want to know the full overview, again, empoweringmomsbirth.com/start guide. So now we're going to get into the deeper levels of what this masterclass is really about. And I'm going to share how this is a trap, how it shows up. So with a small baby, it's a little bit different than the big baby trap. Go back and watch that video if you are not familiar with the big baby trap, because this is the other side of it. If they can't get you for a big baby, they'll try to get you for a small baby, especially if you happen to be of a smaller build. You know, there's another side to our culture when it comes to body dysmorphia and feeling like we are the wrong size, the wrong shape. And skinny girls get this too. I'm not saying that women who have more curves don't have a lot of problems in the system. There have been lots of my clients who have been fat shamed, and it is horrible that they have had to experience this. It's not fair. They're often told that they're going to have gestational diabetes, that their babies are going to be too big, that they're not going to be able to birth them, and all these horrible things. And it's undermining their confidence. Women of all shapes and sizes can give birth naturally. It is what our bodies are designed for. But, you know, skinny girls have another layer to that. We're either told that we're not going to be able to birth our massive babies through our tiny little pelvises. And, that was what people were telling me, and I would get scared of it. But we're also told that we're undernourished because, if you are very tiny to begin with, and you only gain a certain amount of weight and you have a tiny little baby belly. I mean, look at mine in the picture. I was just tiny. This is me at about 6 months pregnant. And then people are like, well, look at you. You're so tiny. Your body is not the size that we would expect for a pregnant woman at your gestation. You have a tiny baby bump. Are you sure you're feeding that baby enough? Now, this is what happened to me. And my midwife then said, you're measuring small at this appointment. And then she sent me for a growth scan. Growth scans can be off by as much as 5 pounds in either direction. Go check out my other masterclass where I talk about growth scans and how that undermines your confidence, because that ties in. Long story short, they then told me that my baby possibly had intrauterine growth restriction, which meant that he would possibly not tolerate labor well. Now, I'm not saying that intrauterine growth restrictions or IUGR is not real. It absolutely is. But it's a lot rarer than people really are led to believe. And because of that fear that our babies are growth restricted, we often agree to things that we don't actually need because there's no distinction between small for gestational age and intrauterine growth restriction, IUGR. And I didn't have access to that information. Now, my doula tried, but she didn't know all of the facts either. And so she was finding inspirational stories of moms who gave birth to triplets. She found inspirational stories of moms who had had VBACs. She found inspirational stories of moms who had gestational diabetes, but they didn't apply in my situation. I'm like, yeah, but I'm not having triplets. I'm having one baby, and this one baby is too small. And all my life, people have always said that I'm undernourished. They have assumed that I'm anemic. They've assumed that I'm going to have troubles carrying these babies and that I would not be able to feed them properly from my body. I already had those fears. They all rose to the surface. And so after having spent a time with a friend of mine who was also pregnant around the same time I was, she was a lot bigger build, and her mother commenting on how much tinier I was compared to her daughter, besides us being the same height, this then had led to me feeling like maybe they were right. Maybe my baby wasn't growing. And I kept asking at every single appointment, well, what if I just eat more? And then that will help him catch up in growth. And they said that that didn't make a difference, that it was something wrong with the placenta, that there was something wrong with my baby, and that he would not tolerate labor well. I didn't have the information that I have now. So I am very, very passionate about this. And I really feel that you deserve to know whether your baby is just small for gestational age versus IUGR. And the difference is not in a growth scan. It is through the blood flow to the placenta, the cord blood flow. You want to monitor that. If you do want to know more about how to identify IUGR versus small for gestational age, then the best resource on this that I could tell you about is Why Induction Matters by Rachel Reed, because she goes into an entire section, several pages, on the difference between IUGR and small for gestational age. Because, it was just something that I didn't have access to. I didn't know. And that is why I ended up saying, okay, I'm not going to have a C-section. I don't want it. I cannot see myself scheduling a C-section. It's just awful. Like I can't do it. There's something inside of me that just, it will not accept this. And everyone around me was telling me, well, you got to do what's best for your baby. And I'm like, no, I'm going to just keep going for these non-stress tests and these growth scans. And if nothing's wrong, Like, if something was really wrong, they would say, we have to go in and do a C-section now. He's fading. But that wasn't happening at my appointments. And I could see that it wasn't happening. He was still growing. I still had the stretch marks. At 39 weeks, all of the stretch marks appeared at once. Obviously, I had a huge growth spurt. Obviously, he caught up in growth. And in the end, that baby was almost 8 pounds. And I had managed to basically say, okay, I will go for these tests to make sure that progress is being monitored. If something actually comes up and I feel the need to change my plan, I will, but I'm not going to change my plan. But I also got risked out of my home birth. And this is something that can also happen if you have this diagnosis of a growth restriction that isn't actually true, is you can be risked out of your birth center, risked out of your home birth, and possibly even told you need to share care with the midwife and the OB. Now, I was stubborn, and through a lot of what I teach my clients now with the empowered birth method, I was able to question all of that. And I chose my own path. And it's because I chose my own path that I first avoided the scheduled C-section. And then when it was time to try to push my baby out, I was like, well, this baby is definitely not small because it's taking longer to push him out. He's not a small baby. And it turns out when he was born, he was 8 pounds. And I'm like, you told me my baby was too small. You were trying to scare me into a C-section for over the course of my last trimester. And I didn't need any of that stress. This cost me my home birth. And I'm going to find out everything I can about how and why I got tricked so that this never happens again. Because I'm having my home birth the next time. I'm never setting foot back in the hospital. And, if you read my book, Your Empowered Birth, you'll get that whole story. But what you really need to understand again is it comes down to the principles of the empowered birth method. You need to get past fear. Then you need to find the right resources for your education. Again, Rachel Reed's book, Why Induction Matters, actually addresses the small baby. She actually addresses IUGR. She goes into the numbers. You can see it for yourself, and you can see that, oh, yeah, induction is probably not the best choice for a true growth restricted baby. And if they're pushing it, really question it. Really question it. Because Pitocin on a regular baby is already going to be really hard on them. And a smaller baby is less likely to be able to tolerate that, especially if they don't have adequate blood flow from the placenta to their little bodies, because that is where they get their oxygen from. So with the empowered birth method, we are getting past our fear. And then what we're going to do is we get that education. The education reinforces what we really need to know to protect ourselves when we advocate for ourselves. And then we also recognize we aim for our true natural birth. We pull back only as much as needed. And if you want to go deeper with that, then that leads into our 3 paths for empowered birth. Number 1 is the do-it-yourself path. And, if you are already familiar with these paths, you can absolutely go and speed ahead to the recap where I'm going to be sharing more on what you need to really know about the small baby myth and add some extra ahas and some extra resources that you may want to check out, some connection to deeper levels. And at the same time, if you are brand new to me and you are not familiar with the 3 paths, then this is where you're going to want to start, okay? You are on the do-it-yourself path right now, Empowered Mom. And that means that you have access to any one of these deep dive masterclasses that have already been done. Go check out the playlists of the YouTube channel. Go to the website, empoweringmomsbirth.com, and piece together all the information that you need access to. The starter guide will get you going so that you know the most important pieces for your level of expertise in what you want to create for yourself, whether you're a first-time mom, a seasoned mom, a VBAC mom, or maybe you're just looking for information right now. Hey, you might even be a birth worker or someone who's really passionate about birth, and you're really just watching this just for your own enjoyment. If that's the case, you're going to love the philosophy and mission statement section. And if you're looking for case stories or how to apply the empowered birth method, it's all there on the starter guide. On my website, I also have a blog and I have access to our toolkit. So if you are a do-it-yourselfer and you don't have the money to invest, or at the same time you're thinking, I'm not sure what to go and invest in yet, I'm not sure if I need to invest. Again, information is free and I only charge for access to me. So you can get started with our Empowered Birth Toolkit. Go to empoweringmomsbirth.com/toolkit or learn more about the do-it-yourself path within the starter guide itself. So the thing about do-it-yourself is that all I ask is that you pay it forward. Pass this on to other moms. Drop this in the mom groups because I am committed to every mom having an empowered birth. When you have an empowered birth, you're an empowered mom for life. No one can take your power away from you again. Next on our list, though, maybe you like a little bit more structure. If that's the case, then you're going to like our self-study path. Our self-study path is designed with a lot of the information that you're still going to get within these deep dive master classes, and sometimes our soapboxes, and sometimes it's in a mini guide or inside of our deep dive newsletter. All of our do-it-yourself stuff then eventually becomes self-study. I take the most relevant pieces that are going to help the moms in my community, and I combine it with what I've taught my coaching clients in the past, my empowered moms who have gone to those deeper levels and had those powerful success stories. They've had those challenges that you wouldn't expect a lot of regular moms to have. Having type 1 diabetes, and then going on to have a home birth after cesarean, having gestational diabetes, chronic high blood pressure, and postpartum preeclampsia with her first baby. Jenny is again the empowered mom success story that I draw upon the most when it comes to my teaching. Then there's Dee Dee, who had a VBAC after 3 cesareans in a health authority that thought she was going to rupture after only 1 contraction. And she managed to stand her ground against the medical system based on what I taught her in those 6 weeks that she came to me after binge watching on my older Cesarean Trap series, which was only 5 videos. And within those 5 videos, she was inspired to work with me further. There's also Rebecca, who had the home birth after 2 previous C-sections. So there's so many powerful case stories, and I've brought them all into the self-study program. The reason for that is because I don't work with everyone who comes to me. I want to make sure that every mom is still supported. And, sometimes the money just isn't there and you're not able to invest at the deeper levels. That's okay. You can still get the empowered birth method through the self-study path. The first entry point for self-study to get a little taste of the magic is go check out some of my mini challenges. I have those in the playlists. One of them is Write Your Empowered Birth Plan, and the other one is Reset Your Mindset. There will be more in the future, so keep following this channel. Like, share, and subscribe to these videos. Pass it on. And you're going to learn more and get more access to what's coming up in the Empowered Mom community if you join the newsletter. Because every single week, I share a segment. One is Empowered Birth Wisdom. The other is Empowered Mom Magic. And then I combine them so that you have all the support you need on your own empowered birth journey. Then finally, as I mentioned, there is path number 3, premium coaching. Now, before premium coaching, though, there's another level which is a little bit lower. It's in between regular self-study and premium coaching. It's called Self-Study VIP. This is the entry level to premium coaching. We don't take on anyone who comes to us unless they have at least gone through one of our self-study programs or our workbooks and had those initial laser coaching sessions. So we have a self-study VIP program, and it's called Your Empowered Birth Academy. Your Empowered Birth Workshop is our introductory self-study, and you can actually go through the whole thing completely free. You don't have to invest. You just go to empoweringmomsbirth.com/workshop. You get a taste of the Empowered Birth Workshop itself. You get walked through. We give you the email access as well. You're going through that program. And at the end of that, if you want to upgrade, you just either email the team or you can get the upgrade right at the beginning of your program. There is a self-study VIP option for our free program. Because with self-study VIP, instead of just going through a course, you also have direct email access to me and the team. That means that if you get stuck at any point, rather than trying to waste your one call on something that could be solved by just giving you a resource, we make sure you have that resource. And we'll also tell you of additional resources that you may want to grab. We'll say, hey, here's another workbook for you. Or, oh yeah, this piece in the workbook, you're having trouble with it. Yeah, this is what we really mean by that. And then you're like, cool, I can keep going. If you get really stuck in your fears, if there's something that you are dealing with your care provider and you can't figure it out on your own and self-study is not helping you, then you have access to a Help I'm Stuck laser coaching session with either myself or one of my coaching queens who has already been through that same challenge. And with information that we have gathered from your workbooks, what we have from your homework assignments that you want to send in to us, we will be able to already look at that strategy ahead of time before that call, so that in those 15 minutes, we can get you clear on what you need to do next. Because we are committed to you having an empowered birth, whether you work with us at the deeper levels or not. With your Empowered Birth Academy, at the end of that program, you graduate because you have everything. You have access to all of our other self-study programs within Academy, plus the core training. You go through that core training, and then you are also at the level now where we can look over everything and we can be like, okay, now we're going to make sure that you have everything you need. Now we're going to make sure that you can go in and have your empowered birth any way you want. And if there's anything else that we can support you with, let us know. If you do want to work with us deeper in one of our group programs, and we happen to have that running, or you want to get more direct support through one of our coaching programs, then that is when we are like, okay, we will see what, like, if you want to do that, we will have another call set up. But your laser coaching session and your deep dive graduation are just for you. They are not sales calls. It's not me saying, oh, now you've graduated the program, let's sell you into something else. Information is free. I only charge for access to me, and I only want you to invest in something that you are comfortable investing in at your level with your budget. The moms who do want to invest deeper, they are doing it for themselves. I will still love them and support them even when it's not the right time. And when it is the right time, it aligns. You know, I've done the same thing in my life. I have held off on getting into a bigger program when I knew that it wasn't right in my life. And then it came around again. And so I really do believe in the pay it forward model because I know what those ripples will do. So at any level, empowered mom, I'm here to support you. Please like, share, subscribe to this channel, pay it forward, pass it on, ask your questions in the comments, join our community, go and get my book, Your Empowered Birth, jump into self-study. And when you're ready, you can also go and get access to the deeper levels of empowering moms, because the deeper you go, the more treasures you uncover. And I am committed to you reaching the highest of your potential when it comes to how you show up for yourself, how you show up for your kids, and how you show up for your community. I believe that moms are the future. We are the evolutionary leaders, and I am committed to you having your beautiful, empowered birth journey, whether you're birthing a baby, birthing a business or a creative project, or rebirthing a new version of yourself. Empowering Moms is here for you. So let's quickly recap. How does the cesarean trap of the small baby undermine your confidence? Well, first of all, if you happen to be of a smaller build and you are told that you are having a tiny baby, that will bring up all the fears and all of the worries and all of those insecurities that you had growing up, where people told you you were too tiny, that you didn't have a lot of meat on your bones, that you needed to eat more. We have those same issues. It's just, it looks different from the outside. And, it's not fair. It's really not fair how we are basically judged by our size and told that we're not going to be able to push out a big baby. We're not going to be able to nourish the tiny baby, and that our tiny baby is somehow a problem. If you happen to be living in a place where most people are much bigger than you, then this is going to also reinforce that, because they're going by growth curves that don't even apply to you. And then growth scans can also be off in as much as 5 pounds from either direction. Go check out my natural birth trap on growth scans to learn more about that. I also go deeper into my story of how I almost got tricked with the small baby myth. You also need to recognize that the difference between small for gestational age and IUGR is that there's a cord problem. There's actually cord blood flow problems that are happening. It's a complication. And yes, that is very serious. And yes, you do want to monitor that. But the key is monitor it. It's not jump to the conclusion that you automatically have IUGR just because somebody says it. Often IUGR comes up because you have other complications in your pregnancy. And again, if you want to know more about that, I would suggest checking out Why Induction Matters by Rachel Reed, because there's a whole segment on IUGR versus small for gestational age, SGA. So then we apply the empowered birth method, as I mentioned before. And the empowered birth method is simple. You get past your fear, you get that education, you put it through your own lens. Now that you're in your place of power, you ask questions, you look for those nuances, you look for context, you pick it apart, you pick apart that information. Don't just take it at surface value, and you find multiple perspectives. You also want to aim for true natural birth. Look at the physiological birth model, and then pull back only as much as needed. Maybe you do have a backup plan. Maybe you do recognize that you have IUGR, in which case you can plan a beautiful and empowering cesarean, but it needs to be your choice. Don't go in thinking that you have to automatically have a C-section, and then you find out that actually your baby was 8 pounds. If I had listened to the people around me, and I had not been as stubborn as I was, and I had gone for that C-section, I would have recognized immediately that they lied to me, that my baby was actually 8 pounds. But then they might have said, yeah, your baby was 8 pounds, so you wouldn't have been able to birth him anyway, and it would have been a C-section. So you don't actually know. So the best way is to aim for a true natural birth. Trust that your body knows what it's doing. Trust that maybe your baby's on their own growth curve. Monitor anything that might be coming up. Ask if there's any other complications that could have led to this. Do what you can to mitigate those risks, and then make your plans. Make your plans around it. And again, if you go through the Write Your Empowered Birth Plan mini challenge, which you can check in the playlists, you're going to be able to get more of that structure. And Your Empowered Birth has the rest of the map. So make sure you check that out as well. And that's pretty much it for this episode of the Empowered Birth series for the Cesarean Traps. If you found value in this, please like, share, subscribe to our channel, pay it forward. If you're on the do-it-yourself path, you may benefit again by watching this video a second time. Third time, you'll be able to implement it. If you're just looking for awareness or curiosity, you don't have to do that. But if this is a serious issue for you, if this is something you're really worried about, I'm going to encourage you to watch it again. I'm going to encourage you to ask questions, and I'm going to encourage you to ask for the resources that you need. Go seek them out. If you have any questions, I studied this because I was so upset after my first pregnancy ended with the birth that it did, that I wanted to make sure that I knew all the ins and outs of what I had been diagnosed with. And once I found that information, I just kept digging because I wanted to make sure it didn't happen to any other moms. So this is one of those passionate topics. And I will go into that at a later point. So just reach out, hello@empoweringmomsbirth.com, put questions into the comments, go into the Facebook group if we still have it, and ask questions through our community newsletter. Okay, so thank you again. If you like this video, like, share, subscribe, pay it forward, pass it on. Have a happy, empowered birth journey. And make sure you tune in next week because I am going to be talking about cesarean trap number 3, the high risk label, and how that often leads to moms thinking they either have to schedule a C-section, have to schedule an induction that leads to a C-section, or they try to gaslight themselves to feel better and convince themselves that that C-section was actually necessary, often because they don't know what they don't know. And, you know, when you've had a C-section, it can be really hard to accept the fact that the medical system screwed you over. At the same time, if they did screw you over, you deserve to take your power back. Whether you have another baby or not, you deserve to take your power back. You deserve to reclaim your narrative. And that is what the Cesarean Trap series is aiming to do. So if you want to know the shorter version of this, go and check the playlist for the shorter Cesarean Trap series. I will be putting it in the description of this video. And if you want the full list of the cesarean traps, you can go to my website and get that list. I've also embedded that inside of the description. So thank you again. Have a happy, empowered birth journey. Whether you are birthing a baby, birthing a business, or a creative project or a movement, or rebirthing a new version of yourself, Empowering Moms is here for you. And a drop in the ocean creates ripples. Many ripples create waves. Enough waves can change the tide. And together, we are going to transform what it means to be an empowered mom, what it means to break free of mommy martyr culture and supermom culture and reclaim motherhood for ourselves and for our children's future. So I love you, and I will see you next week. Namaste.